Hello everyone, Raycon Robber here, back to making videos on my Omori Manga chapter reviews, this time covering chapters 4 and 5, both of which focus on Otherworld. Here, we're going through the main plot of Otherworld with some big changes, that for the most part I can appreciate and see the value in, but not entirely. As usual, there will be spoilers for all of Omori. We start with the crew climbing the ladder to Otherworld, which has been extended compared to the game. Everyone gives sweet words of encouragement to Omori, which was really nice. The big difference here is that all the scenes of Omori facing his fear of heights have been condensed to this scene. Instead of Omori facing something in the dark separately, we see it shown below Omori as he climbs the ladder. This is clearly a way of keeping the faster pace going. Moving forward, we can assume we won't always get dedicated scenes to the different variations of something representing his fears. In this scene, I don't really mind it, because it still feels cohesive and successful at portraying what it needs to. The scene still succeeds at portraying Omori's terror, largely thanks to the great art. Omori almost falling also helps with this. The horror shown in this series for newcomers, and the knowledge old fans have, along with the changes made to it already, lead you to believe that he could have genuinely fallen there. I really questioned whether it was going to lead to a combat scene with something, or if the group would catch him, or something along those lines. I am a longtime fan, but I am also doing my best to consider the perspective of someone who may be reading it without spoilers for the whole game. This scene has a tense atmosphere, and the meaning of Mari supporting him is also not totally left out. The moments with the group in this scene are also really great. Kel catching Omori, along with the others continuing to encourage him, is again very sweet. This helps make up for the scenes between the group that the manga skipped, though it doesn't completely fix that negative. The scenes where he faces his fears are cool, and I did not want them to be left out. But this feels in line with the difference in the way the story has been presented so far. I think this scene works as a way to get the story moving faster, while still portraying the necessary beats. I don't think it's better than original, I do think it's worse, but I still think it is solid. As we enter Otherworld, which consistently looks fantastic by the way, what I said before will continue for the rest of these chapters. Once they get to the top, the gang splits up. Omori goes off on his own to experience the barn something scene, while the others deal with the Otherworld enemies and Space Boyfriend. I'll focus on each side of things entirely, considering both chapters, then conclude with them coming back together. Starting with Omori, I will say, yet again, that the horror scenes in the manga are absolutely awesome. They are terrifying, and I could not ask for more on the visual front. While the manga may lack the same audio and visual elements that make the game very scary, the manga goes all in on the type of visuals that the game does not offer, which is what I want from an adaptation. Something different that still succeeds at the core essence of what the original did. This part with Stranger is new, and I think it's really cool. I could not figure out exactly what the photo that they show here is meant to be honest. This makes me think that the highway part of the game, where you collect all the photos, may be dispersed through horror elements as the story progresses, with it culminating in just one photo. As I've said, I am embracing change by default, so I'm excited to see how this can develop in a unique way. The scene of Mari's painting plays largely the same, with lots of great art as Omori escapes from something. Once he leaves the barn, we get another change with Omori ending up going straight into Mari's arms. I like how Mari gives Omori her sweet older sister routine, and directs him to go join with the others again. But now we get to a change I'm having much more trouble getting behind, which is Mari's ghost seemingly disappearing already. This is another scene like the church fight that is way earlier in the manga than is in the game. And I can't justify this being here so early. I don't think it was needed or fits. In the game, this point really drives home that Mari was dead. But in the manga, that was already made pretty clear by IRL Aubrey. I think it's also pretty obvious enough that Sunny and Omori are the same by this point. So it's not jarring on those fronts. It just doesn't hit as hard when we consider how little time they spent with Headspace Mari, and so much less time teasing the backstory. It's not completely awful, as at least it does still convey some sadness as it happens right after Mari comforts Omori. But Omori being called Sunny does not really carry any weight for me here. It feels very strange as well that they have all the sweet stuff at the end of chapter 5, with Hiro talking about how much Mari means to him after Mari disappears. It's not that putting additional context after a character's loss never works, but here it just doesn't for me. I think Mari saying goodbye after they successfully helped Space Boyfriend would have hit harder, and still fit because Omori only went to go help because of her push. I think that would work better as a sequence of events. I really don't like the change made to Mari's scenes in these 2 chapters. Now, to get away from the horror and focus on the friendos, the scene of them fighting the space bunnies is cute. I especially like Kel saying that only he is allowed to annoy Aubrey. This is new and fitting for the characters and plays into them as a ship. As a stereotype of kids in Japanese media, but you do get to see it to a degree everywhere, that a boy annoying a girl tends to mean that they like them. And it's also important to note that Hiro says here to focus on finding Basil. Another change is that they come across Space Boyfriend by wandering into the junkyard while looking for Basil instead of looking for the mixtape. As another move to hasten the pacing, I think it's acceptable. The content that gets skipped is fine, but nothing especially amazing or critical in my opinion in the grand scheme of things, outside of Pluto, who I will talk about more later. The gang is forced to fight Space Boyfriend and gets their butts kicked, until Omori steps in and they take him down with a special move. It's a shame that we did not get as much from this fight as we did with Boss. This is a minor disappointment, and does curb some of my excitement for the upcoming fights, because it makes me worried about what else might get skipped. But, at the very least, the rest of the time that we spend with Space Boyfriend is awesome. More awesome original content. I am willing to take the trade of a cool fight for all this hilarious and wholesome dialogue that we get between Space Boyfriend and the gang. Everyone writes a letter for him that feels perfectly in character and would fit right in if this was in the game. They're all great, but I love the relationship between Hiro and Mari, so that hit me the hardest. And like I said earlier, this is good for making you sad over Mari as well. This is the type of scene that completely justifies the manga's existence and is exactly what I want from an adaptation. This scene also does a fantastic job of rectifying the issue of not getting enough time with the gang to show off their personalities and dynamics. Space Boyfriend highly benefited from this as well, as he gets so much more fleshed out as a character. This scene exemplifies how the game and the manga can work together to create a stronger overall narrative and world. To me, an adaptation doesn't have to create a just pick a medium you like and ignore the other one type of situation. Both should be great experiences on their own that also benefits the other. This scene is one of the highlights of the manga so far for me, and I would make sure that any Omori fans I have as friends that aren't reading it should at least read this. Sadly, we do have to end off on another mixed change. Kel, Aubrey, and Hiro are already forgetting about Basil, which in-game doesn't happen until later. I won't be too harsh, as this could make more sense as we see how the manga's overarching story plays out. But like with Mari's disappearance, I don't think it carries the weight it should, and I can't think of a good justification for it right now. As I say, I try to be positive and really look on the bright side of things, not in a forceful way, just because I am enjoying this and I still want to stay optimistic, but this is one of those times where, again, I can't really justify this change in a good way. And that brings us to the end of these chapters. While its changes to the narrative reach both extremes of the like-to-dislike spectrum for me, I do like more of what I've seen than I don't. I am happy that it's doing more to justify why it exists and is worth reading as an existing Omori fan. As for how it would be for a new fan, I still think that it has some issues that would make me recommend people definitely play the game first. I don't know for sure if this is the last we'll see of Otherworld, but based on the pacing, I assume we're going to go back to the real world soon and likely move on to the next area very quickly. But I would be sad if Pluto is skipped over. Even though he is an element that could be, Mr. Jossum's defeat can still play out the same way without him, and in the manga, they don't necessarily need a way to go to previous areas, so like his fast travel function obviously isn't necessary in this kind of narrative. So I acknowledge that he is expendable, but I like him as a character, so I'll be disappointed if he isn't represented at all, and On another point, Life Jam Guy getting a cameo is nice, but I will be mad if he got one instead of Pluto. Like, they definitely could have had him flying here in the sky alongside Life Jam Guy or something like that. So, with that, thank you very much for watching.